We have coffee, mayhem, murder, and your mom, if you brought her, and or your dad or whoever you brung. Either way, as long as you bring somebody, we need murder mystery buddies. Everyone needs a partner, so remember that. Put our coffee down and pay attention. Dun dun. So, today's lovely thing is Shakira Spencer. Little FYI, this is a little bit of a brutal one, and it's gonna be a toughie, so if you're squeamish or you don't want to hear it, this is your warning. Okay. Headline: 3 convicted of torture and murder of a mother of 2. Three people who tortured, starved, and beat to death a woman from West London have been found guilty of her murder. On the evening of Monday, the 12th September, last year, which I don't know if this was actually last year or what, 35-year-old Shakira Spencer was driven back to her flat in a car boot, which I'm guessing a trunk, by people she had once believed to be friends. A member of the public saw her fall as she was unable to walk from the car. It was the last time she was seen alive. Shakira had suffered a campaign of cruelty and humility by her tormentors, who left her body to rot. It was found when the neighbors reported maggots crawling under her front door 2 weeks later. Shakira Spencer had been a healthy young woman with a partner, 2 children, and a home until she encountered evil. She fell under the control of Stud Holm, who is now 38, who had befriended her and went on to dominate and then abuse her in the year before her death. Okay, feral savages. We need a drink first. Man, I need a refill. It's almost empty. Bring me a cup of coffee. Okay, Stud Holm was the leader of the sadistic trio, who included her friend Lisa Richardson, 44, and one-time boyfriend, Sean Pendlebury, who's 26. Their trial heard, however, a long period of time that they tormented, tortured, starved, burned, and eventually battered Shakira to death. Prosecutors Allison Hunter KC compared them to a pack of feral savages. They treated Shakira as their slave, ordered her to wake up in the early hours to run errands, feeding her only sachets of ketchup, so little ketchup packets, while Stud Holm took control of her money. Shakira Spencer was clearly viewed as less than human by these 3 wicked defendants. Months of abuse came to a horrific conclusion in September 2022. Okay, so that's when it was. At Ashanda Studholm's flat in Harrow, northwest London, when their beating took Shakira to the brink of death. Studholm and Penman drove the dying young woman in the trunk back to her own flat in Ealing, West London, locked her in a hall cupboard. The killers later returned to move her to the bottom of a bunk bed. It is not known whether she was alive or dead at this point. They left her body to rot. She was not found for 2 weeks. Targeted in isolation. So the person who led the homicide investigation says Shakira was vulnerable. I think she just wanted to be cared for, loved, and had a friendship group around her. Was just coerced and manipulated over a long time by these people. Shakira Spencer first met Ashanda Studholm when they became neighbors. Studholm targeted the young woman, described by other neighbors as a lovable person who, but very slow and sociable, awkward, who presented as someone with learning difficulties. She drew Shakira into what described a quarter as her seedy social scene. She took her out drinking, introduced her to drugs, leading to change in Shakira's behavior. Shakira's relationship broke up, and so she became closer to Studholm, who wound her tentacles around her, slowly isolating her. Ashanda Stunholm is a cruel, manipulated, conceived individual. She seemed to have a power over people and control them. She is just a vile person. At the end of August, Shakira was stopped near Stunholm Flat by police who was concerned about her appearance and demeanor. She said nothing to them and returned to her solitary hell. 10 days later, Stunholm sent Richardson a message saying, I've bust her head. I need you here. I will go to jail. This was a signal for all three to gather at the Studholm's flat. Over the weekend in September, they carried out their final subsequent attacks on Shakira, which were proved fatal. Boiling water was poured over her. Ooh. Hold on. Whew. A lighter and spray was used as a blowtorch, burning her face. Ugh. And she was beaten around the head with a heavy massager. I need a moment. Ooh. Not enough coffee in the world. They had no remorse. None of them gave her any medical assistance. None of them called up any professionals, any doctor tried to get help at her at all when they could have. The death could hopefully have been prevented at the point, but they didn't. And it was 2 weeks later that she was found in badly decomposed state in her home. Concerned only for themselves, the killer tried to remove evidence of the beating, blood, and torture. They scrambled to mount a cleanup operation. They were caught on CCTV buying products using Shakira's bank card. Studholm was heard shouting, I can't go back to prison. Soon afterwards, the trio's bond of complicity was broken. Piddleberry confessed to members of his family what he and 2 women had done. His uncle called the police. During the trial, Piddleberry changed his story, saying he was not involved in Shakira's death. At Studholm's flat, police found paperwork showing she was receiving all Shakira's benefit and had control of her finances. Some documents were hidden under a mattress, others were in a bag emblazoned with the logo, It Wasn't Me. Shakira Spencer's remains were so badly decomposed, and the exact cause of death could not be established. A postmortem examination list of a catalog of injuries of her head and feet. Prosecutors said her body was just simply wore out. The smiling, healthy young woman seen in photographs before she fell under the control of abusers died. An impeccable wreck. Disgusting and sickening. Those who knew Shakira have been reflecting on her isolation and her slow, degrading death. For someone who is bubbly and kind and caring, just be taken away for what? It's heartbreaking. Studholm had a history of violence. The jury heard how she kicked and punched a woman in the back as she lay in the middle of the street and was remanded in prison. 4 years later, in 2017, she admitted originally aggression, common assault on another female. Neighbors of Lisa Richardson in Nolan, West London, described her flat as a hive of antisocial behavior, with visitors coming and going at all hours and fight in the stairwell. Sean Pendlebury, whose attempt to distance himself from Shakira's killing has failed, has served a jail term for a Class A drug offense, intending to supply heroin and cocaine. Jurors deliberated on nearly 18 hours to reach their verdict, were excused by the judge for jury services for life due to harrowing nature of the case. Pendlebury clapped guilty of murder victims twice annually before walking out the dock. He and the other 2 defendants were sentenced on a later date. No amount of time will be enough for what they've done. They have taken something very special, and what they've done is disturbing and sickening. Early counsel say it is carried out on a safeguarding adult review into the case. The trio subjected Miss Spencer to months of beatings, enslavement, humiliation, degradation. They scalded her feet and fed her only packets of ketchup. She had been a healthy size 16 in 2021. By July 22, Miss Spencer was just skin and bones, gaunt and skeleton, bruised from head to foot with hollow black eyes. She was barely a scrawny size 6 in images taken by the defendants just before she died. For whatever was unfathomable, cruel, sadistic motive, these 3 defendants tormented, tortured, starved, burned, and eventually battered Shakira Spencer to death. I'm just reading all this, seeing if there's anything else that I haven't said yet. Okay. The trio was arrested hours later and taken into custody. When officers seized their phones, they uncovered hundreds of messages about the abuse they had subjected Miss Spencer to, alongside videos of her being beat up while the others laughed. They were all found guilty in preventing a lawful burial. They were all sentenced to life with a minimum term of 34 years. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, without getting into horrible details of what they actually fully did to her, I think that's about covering it. So, I thank you for watching, and I appreciate you showing. So, have a good time.